Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom, where we bring you engaging conversations and respectful disagreement across the social spectrum.
Injected with the quirks of everyday life.
Curl up as we navigate the complexities of this modern world with all the humor and warmth we can muster.
And the occasional gentle ribbing. We're glad you're here. Happy listening.
Hello. Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom. I am Callie. I'm here today with my mom, Mecca. Hello.
Hello.
And my other millennial, Cole. Hello.
Yo.
And we are excited to chat about TV today.
The good old two.
Oh, yes. So, in general, Two Millennials and Mom is where we take all of our various generational perspectives and mix it in with some humor and some warmth and have a lot of fun. See what kind of trouble we can get into. I mean, our mom is sitting right here, so it can't be that bad, right?
I don't know about that.
You never know. But
I'm pretty sure I lost control a couple of years ago.
yeah. You think it was that recently?
Yeah,
Well,
Who knows?
Yeah.
For those of you on YouTube, you will get to appreciate some of Cole's fantastic hand gestures that are not audible, but enjoy. Okay, guys. So like I said, we are talking about TV today. I think that we're in such an interesting age of television, and we've had all of these writer strikes and streaming services and new people come on the scene and all kinds of variety. And there is more TV available to us now at the tip of our fingers than has ever been the case in history. And so I wanted to chat through a couple of different facets of television with you guys. We're going to talk through, like I said, several different facets: favorites, disappointments, guilty pleasures, judgment withholding, and what is also on your I would like to watch this list. But here is my first question. What are you watching right now?
I think I'm between shows right now. Yeah, I finished, I think, the season finale of Landman, and that one has been a little bit of a guilty pleasure for me the last couple of months, just because, like, I watched the first episode and I spent a little bit of time working in oil and gas. And it's so over-the-top dramatic that it really reminded me, the main character that is played by Billy Bob Thornton, really reminded me of, like, the most over-dramatized version of the guy that I used to work for. And so, like, it started out where it was almost funny, and then it turns out I like Taylor Sheridan's writing. It's interesting. It kind of sucks you in.
Okay, so here's my weird thing about that specifically, Taylor Sheridan specifically. It took me a while to watch Yellowstone, and we can chat about that later in the episode, which is also done by Taylor Sheridan. But I'm also watching Landman, and really inhaled the first few episodes. But there were some pauses that I have. And I kind of have a little bit of a bone to pick with Taylor Sheridan. I feel like his female characters suck. I think that they're fascinating, and I think that they are supremely interesting to watch. But if you take his female characters on the whole, they are all horrible women. Smart in their own right.
Even Helen Mirren in what wasn't it, 1836? Wasn't she in that one?
I don't know. So I've only watched Yellowstone, Landman, and something else.
Yeah, I think I can see where you're coming from. I don't know that all of them, because, like, Casey's wife in Yellowstone is fantastic.
Now, she's fantastic in the later, like, last two seasons. But at the beginning, she was a needy, awful, angry woman.
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you need to write him a letter.
Hey, Taylor Sheridan, please stop hating women.
Yeah, something along that line.
Goodness. So it's been really funny. So I was sitting there watching Landman, and his wife, like the wife in the show, I can't think of who plays her all of a sudden. Oh gosh, it's going to drive me nuts. But the main character's wife in the show is so entertaining to watch and so cringeworthy. Like, it's fantastic entertainment, but also it just It feels like in Little Rascals, He-Man Woman Haters Club, like can't unsee it. And it just feels to me, the more Taylor Sheridan shows that I watch, the more I go, oh, please stop hating women. Please, like you need some better women in your life, like to have some role models here, because that's again, not to say that they're not intelligent, and they're played beautifully by every single person who plays them. Kelly Riley in Yellowstone, I absolutely hated that character of Beth Dutton for a while. And then
Beth
one
is
day,
my favorite.
Beth is my favorite. One day the tides turn and it's like, oh, okay, I
You
get
start
it.
to get why she's so angry.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe Cole, maybe that's it. Maybe his retelling of women is what he sees and is what all of us really are. We are really angry and we're really hurt and we have reasons to be angry. And I just don't want to be angry all the time.
I don't think you can generalize all women like that, because not all women
I
are
agree.
angry all the time. But I do think that for the sake of story writing, those women are going to draw people in more. They're going to be more interesting because they have a more vivid story.
Yes, but gosh, like, can there at least be one somewhere? And maybe I need to go watch, I think it's 1933, Mom. Maybe I need to go watch Helen Mirren or Faith Hill in the Yellowstone kind of spinoffs and get another perspective. But of the ones that I have watched of Taylor Sheridan, they are just heavy on my heart. And I just struggle with that. Can't unsee it.
Yeah.
But okay, so Mom, what have you watched lately?
I finally talked you into watching Ted Lasso with me. I had seen it before. Callie had started it and not gotten interested.
I had not
then
made it through half of episode 1, and I was so completely bored. And I think I'd watched it 6 times before I was just like, this is not for me. I don't get it. I'm not interested. Gotta go.
And it is honestly one of my very favorite all-time shows, just because it is so uplifting. It's
so
just
good.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso is a W for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I don't think you really wanted to watch it with me, but it was something that we could watch together. And so then, and I'll probably never forget, you looked at me one night and you went, I am Ted Lasso. And I thought, yeah, you are. You're Ted Lasso. And I'm so excited that there's a season 4 coming.
I know. I'm pumped.
Yeah. Hurry up.
Yes. So we watched Ted Lasso, like she said, just recently. So I'm very definitely behind the Ted Lasso curve, and I loved it. It took me a few episodes to get into, and then I just fell in love with all of the characters, and I loved every single episode, except for that one weird one with Beard, where he's out partying and being weird, and I was pretty sure it gave me schizophrenia and epilepsy all in one episode. Like, it was just a lot. I get it. It makes sense for his character, but he and I could not be friends in real life. I'm also watching, I just finished Shrinking season 2, I believe, which I also didn't want to love, and I did. I really did. I mean, Harrison Ford is stellar. Jason Segel isn't always my favorite, but this role he's really, really great in. I love Krista Miller from her Cougar Town days. And I also had the most fun with all of the like Cougar Town pieces of it, and the cameo with Grayson I just thought was fantastic. Like, I loved Shrinking. I'm watching Yellowstone. I'm also, Mom tried to watch this one with me, Cole, and it didn't work very well. I'm also watching Hacks on Max with Jean Smart. She's like I don't want to call her a washed up comedian, but we'll get into it in a little bit as to what we all think makes good TV. And I think that I've figured it out for why you didn't like that one.
Well, I think I know why I didn't like that one. But okay, I think I almost have to put a disclaimer in here. I have watched more TV with you in the last month than I've probably watched in the last several years. And I'll be the first one to say, your dad and I don't really watch TV together because we don't ever like the same shows. I mean, Dad could watch Cops or, anything
Gator Hunters.
cop related. Yes. I mean, ad nauseum. and I just cannot do those. So I'm not a big TV watcher. I could give up TV very easily.
Yeah. Not books, but TV, no problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So I got a disclaimer on that one. And I will also say, as we were kind of prepping for this and I went back to see what shows were highlights, I got so excited because some of them were just so much fun that I remembered from growing up.
Gotcha.
I'll also say, when I was growing up, my mom didn't allow TV. The only time that you could watch TV was when Daddy came home. So after work, he would come home and he had control of the TV. So there was a lot of Bonanza or Rifleman or that kind of stuff in my childhood.
So that leads me to my next question. What have been your all-time favorite TV shows?
I feel like I've had a lot of TV shows that I really, really liked up until the end. And then the end of it was just like, why would you do this?
Interesting.
Like Sons of Anarchy was that way. Like Sons of Anarchy, I feel like I was drawn to Sons of Anarchy because it was one of those train wrecks that you couldn't look away from. Just
Yes.
like every character in the show is always making the worst possible decision. And so it just leads to these awful outcomes that just snowball until you get to the end. And you're just like, oh, well, I guess that's that.
Yeah. I was
Why do
really
you
upset
think
with Jax Teller at the end.
Why do you think we're drawn to those shows? Because those are big hit shows. Watching somebody else screw up, is that
Makes you feel better about yourself.
Yeah,
what it
I think
is?
it makes you feel better about yourself. It makes
My life's not that
it makes
screwed
you
up.
glad that your life is not that exciting sometimes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I'm going to say my favorite, and Dad and I did watch this one together, and we watched for every season, but then we didn't like the spinoffs, was NCIS with Gibbs.
Yeah,
Mark
NCIS
Harmon.
is up there. That one's it's probably top 5, top 10 for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jethro
Really?
Gibbs goes hard.
Interesting. So I really struggled with this category specifically because there were lots of shows that I loved but wouldn't necessarily watch again. And so what I ended up putting on my list were ones that I have gone back to watch again over and over multiple times. So I have a couple. Sex of the City. Again, it has to do with my love of New York City. I get it, Cole. You don't have to like it. That's
Not in a
totally
million
fine.
years.
There are total and complete flaws with every single character. Fine. But I love it. I think it's so interesting, and I like to watch them. I like the clothes. I like the scenes. I love the wildly outrageous stories. Somebody stole my shoes. Now I'm having a baby shower for myself. Here's my registry.
Did you like the new one?
Yes.
The latest one?
Yes, I have enjoyed the latest one a lot. And I think that they've done a really good job at kind of regrouping and coming back at it from a fresh angle of them being a little bit older and in today's society, talking about pronouns and being more open with your sexuality and what that means and looks like, and struggling with children and kids and them growing up, and kind of the keeping up with the Joneses aspect of things. Like I just feel like there's lots of real life that all of that is kind of set in. And I know that it's certainly not my real life, but there's so much that, because it is based in reality in so many ways, I feel like it becomes that much more relatable.
Kind of felt like that about This Is Us.
Yeah.
I think
I
I
want
agree.
the opposite from my TV. Like I want the furthest from reality.
And
I think that that's totally fine. I think it's to each their own and what that looks
for
like
sure.
and means. I loved Younger. It was also done by Darren Star, and I loved it. Sutton Foster was stunning in that. And I loved the reprisal of Hilary Duff in that. I just thought it was so much fun. There were a couple of goofy episodes, but I loved that. Originally I loved Homeland.
I couldn't get into that one. I tried.
It took a while. It for sure took a while. And then it was so similar to kind of what was going on in the world. It was like, oh God, this is scary. But then it was a little while later, several years later, I started watching Billions, which is Damian Lewis, who plays the guy in Homeland, the captive in Homeland. And then he plays Bobby Axelrod in Billions. And I loved Billions. I loved Billions. I've watched that one a couple of times. I also love Suits. I don't really care how you feel about Meghan Markle. I watched it long before she was a princess.
Yeah. No, we loved that one.
I loved that. And White Collar is up there for me as one of my all-time favorites. It was goofy. And I also really loved, Mom, you probably haven't ever seen it, but I loved Disjointed with Kathy Bates on Netflix.
Yeah.
I loved that
Disjointed
one.
was great.
It is about Kathy Bates is like a hippie who has a pot
Dispensary.
store. A dispensary, yes. A pot store. I don't even know.
Very funny.
Very funny, very silly. Dank and Dabby just absolutely drive me wild, and I don't want to be anywhere near them, but I love watching them on television. I loved Disjointed and have watched it on several occasions.
Maybe we try that one.
You will not enjoy it.
Be able to get through Disjointed.
I think y'all are so funny with these things that you decide that I won't like.
Our opinion?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but you have real specific things. Mom, you won't like that one. Don't go see it. Don't do that one. You won't like that one.
We've seen you turn TV shows off for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
Well, true. I do not like really stupid ones. Like, I'm not ever going to be a Dumb and Dumber kind of watcher.
That's what Dank and Debbie are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Never mind then. I just can't do the stupid stuff. That's just,
Disjointed does a really good job of balancing the really silly with the really serious.
Yes.
And so the writing does a really, really good job of kind of melding those two and having it be silly, but also a level of importance.
Maybe we'll try it.
I'm totally game to try it. I love that show. Again, I think Kathy Bates is fantastic in it as Ruth. I love that show. And I wanted all of the Eatos. Fritos, Doritos, Cheetos, Taquitos. I just love that show.
Yeah, it was really well done. I liked that one a lot too.
So, Mom, you said that you don't think that we have a good feel for what you will and won't like. What makes a great show?
I did not say that. I said it always entertains me how opinionated y'all are about what I would like.
How often are we wrong?
Once in a while.
Name one.
The one, Callie, that you just watched with Dad.
Terminal List?
Yes. You said I wouldn't like that, and I liked Terminal List.
Fair enough.
Okay. And yet you wouldn't even be in the room while we were watching it.
Because I'd already seen it.
Not one that she would watch multiple times.
No.
Yeah, it's a little bit intense for I'm the same way. Like, I can probably count on one hand the number of TV shows I've watched multiple times.
Now, I say that, I think things like I Love Lucy are iconic. Sure. You can always watch another I Love Lucy. So there are things like that, or just nostalgic kind of things. I think that I wouldn't sit and binge watch, but I would watch maybe another episode,
So what makes a show great for you?
Well, I think Lasso was because there was so much heart in it that I really and there were some hysterically funny lines in there. And I think that was one thing with that one, having watched it now a second time, I caught things that I didn't catch the first time, and you go, oh, I get why they said that. That's so funny.
It's just poop, eh?
Yeah.
Don't start quoting Ted Lasso, or I will not be able to make it through this episode without the Roy Kent chant. I won't be able to do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I won't be able to do it, y'all.
I don't know. So, and yet, I've watched a couple that are supposed to be really good, and I mean, I want to be entertained, but I don't want to be scared out of my mind.
Yeah.
I don't want to be goried out,
Yeah.
So maybe I'm not a very good TV watcher. And I'm okay with
Not a
that.
bad thing. Cole, what makes a great TV show for you?
That one's hard for me to quantify. I think the writing has to be good. Like, I can't do reality TV. I can't do like super goofy stuff. It's got to be interesting on some level. And there has to be, most of the time, there has to be some level of meaning behind it, some depth, really. I can't watch the shallow stuff. Can't do Survivor. Can't do dating shows. They're all just Gator Man, Gator Wrestling that Dad was watching the other day is just so obviously fake and scripted and trying to play off that it's not. It's just not entertaining to me. I think writing and the depth are what really get me on a TV show.
And so what are the ones that you've rewatched?
A couple of these y'all may have never heard of. I'm
no
a bit
one
of
is
a
surprised
weeb.
by that.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a weeb, so my number one is probably an anime, Gundam Seed.
What's a weeb?
It's a term for people who like Japanese pop culture.
Oh, okay.
Ted Lasso, I've watched multiple times. I've watched The Terminal List a couple of times. I think I've watched it twice now. I think probably not much more than that I have watched more than once.
Interesting. So as I was making my list for things that I really loved for this episode, I stumbled upon a few common denominators, if you will. Number one, the music has to be great.
That helps.
I love, love, love a good soundtrack. And
Yeah, you do.
you can certainly tell when they have spent their money on the right songs, the right music. They've invested in the show with the music.
Yeah. Suits had a fantastic soundtrack. So did
Loved
Yellowstone.
Always.
Yeah. Yes. What was it that we were watching?
Gundam Seed also has a banger soundtrack.
Man on the Inside on Netflix with Ted Danson also has a very, very good soundtrack.
I don't think I watched.
That was good. I like that one.
It's a lot of fun. So I like there to be good music. I like it to be visually beautiful. I really, really appreciate that. It goes back to one of the things that I love about Sex and the City. I love to see what it is that they're going to wear and how they're putting outfits together. I love the landscape of New York and what that is and the hustle and bustle of that and making it out to be pretty. That's not to say that there aren't dirty scenes or dirty moments, because there are. But on the whole, I feel like they do a really good job at making it beautiful. Billions is that way. Everything is very clean and pretty and nice and lovely. I like it when they're pretty. Sweet Magnolias is a Netflix series with Joanna Garcia Swisher. I don't know. The redhead that was
From
on...
Reba's daughter.
Yeah, Reba's daughter. Yes. Who's not actually Reba's daughter, but is Reba's daughter in Reba, the show. Not at all confusing if you don't know who we're talking about. Theirs is really pretty too. That show is really beautifully shot. It's in like South Carolina almost, and so it's just really lovely. All of the kind of hollers and the southern charm of it all. I like it when they're pretty. And then,
did you ever watch Justified?
No, what's his name? I know what you're talking about. The guy from Deadwood.
I never watched Deadwood.
Ryan would poke me in the eye for not knowing his name.
And he's got a great name too.
Yeah, I'm gonna kick myself.
Timothy Oliphant.
Yes.
I knew it was Tim, but
what about Justified?
it's shot in the hollers, and it a lot of it is really well done.
I mean, I even feel like True Blood is that way. That wasn't my favorite show by any means, but it's shot really beautifully. It's shot in an interesting way, and it's pretty. I like it when they're pretty. Call me shallow. That's fine.
I made it about 7 minutes into True Blood and was like, nope, not for me. I'm out.
You have to get through the whole first season in order to even be remotely hooked. It took some time. It definitely does get better. Alexander Skarsgård is amazing.
There's so
Absolutely
much
amazing.
content out there that if I have to get through an entire season to get it, it's probably going to be a struggle for me. I know I tell people all the time, you got to get through the first season. But if I can't get through the first season, I'm going to have a hard time continuing. Like, that was me for Breaking Bad. Like, I think I made it through the first season, like in about a quarter to halfway through season 2.
Yeah.
And it just was not for me.
I'm right there with you. I couldn't do it. I had no interest at all.
which is wild. IMDb has Breaking Bad as the #1 TV show ever.
Yeah. Well, and so that takes me to my final point on what makes a good TV show. I need a good human to root for.
Yeah.
And my preference is that there are lots of good humans to root for. That's one of the reasons why I think Ted Lasso was so impactful for me. There wasn't a character outside of Nate. Sorry, dude, you sucked. But even like in his redeeming moments, I didn't like him. But everybody else, I wanted the best for them. I wanted to see them succeed. I wanted to see them happy. I wanted to see them grow and become better humans. And they were all interested in becoming better humans. Even Jamie Tart.
Whistle.
You got to stop this. I'm not going to make it through the episode, man. But I love watching good people succeed. I love watching them challenge their peripheral characters and everything. Like, I like having a good storyline to root for that I can get behind and be excited about. I am an encourager by nature. And so TV is just a spin-off of that for me. Like, I want to be encouraging to them. I want them to know that I'm rooting for them, and I want to get excited.
With that, I'm really curious, who was the person you were rooting for in Sons of Anarchy?
Probably Gemma.
Interesting.
I came around to like Jax Teller, and I didn't like, gosh, I can't even think of what her name is in the show, but
Tara.
Jax Teller's Tara. Yes.
I wanted to like Tara so much.
She was awful.
But she was, especially at the end, you're just like, she just kept doing the stupidest things.
Yeah, it was like she put a whole wheel of bad decisions together, spun it, and just went with it. And you're like...
And then just went to the next one after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was just a wheel of bad decisions over and over and over again. I hated her. I mean, that's the thing. I need something to believe in. And there was nothing believable about her and where she was going and the choices she was making. It's like, I
felt like there was for the first half of the series. And then after that, it was just like, there's no more hope for you. You're just an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And Sons of Anarchy is very much kind of a left turn for me. No pun intended. I mean, I was watching it with Ryan. I don't even remember what started us on it. The music was really good. And so it certainly held my attention, but there was lots of sitting there going, oh gosh. I mean, throughout the entire series.
And see,
I just remembered...
I don't want to do that. I don't want to be flinching through everything. I think I watched one episode of 1836, I think is what it was.
1886.
1880. And it was about a nun and how she was beating this woman because she was indigenous. And I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I had to be talked into watching Yellowstone because the first scene is them shooting a horse, and I'm just like, no, I don't want any part of this. And so I fast forwarded through that, and the rest of it was mostly enjoyable.
Yeah, it's pretty much uphill from there.
Yeah, I mean, but God, that first scene, just me and the horse, we both got killed. Yeah, it was rough.
That one hurt.
Nope.
I did remember a fourth show that I have watched multiple times. Also has a killer soundtrack. Peaky Blinders. If you haven't watched that one, add it to your list. It's a hard watch sometimes, but it's very good, very well written. And
so
Cillian
that's
Murphy
on
is
my
great.
list of I should probably watch it things, and I've never been able to kind of talk myself into it. So we talked when we were talking about books. I am not doing any research beforehand. I don't know the stories. I don't know what's going on. I don't want to know. I don't want to know where it's going. I don't know anything about Peaky Blinders. I cannot even name the main character. I don't know anything about it. And so I've never gotten convinced enough, because I'm not willing to convince myself and go find out and say, oh, this sounds interesting. I've never gotten convinced enough to go and watch it, but everybody talks about how fantastic it is. So I'm like, oh, maybe I need to give that a try. Maybe I should give it a shot. And I just haven't yet, but it is on my list. So that kind of leads me into my next question. What couldn't you stand? What did you not finish? Mine was for sure Breaking Bad. I had no interest at all. I've never watched a single episode of Game of Thrones. I've never watched a single episode of Walking Dead. If it's fantasy, I am not interested.
Yeah, I watched Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was really good up until the last season, but I also read the books, and it was fairly true to the books. There were definitely some divergences, and the books aren't done yet, and the TV show is. So we'll kind of see what goes on there. But let's see. I couldn't do The Sopranos. Couldn't make it through the first episode. Like, I was out. Breaking Bad, like you said. Let's see here.
Orange is the New Black was one of those for me. Like, I tried. Like, I think I 6 seasons tried at various points in time, and I just was so bored. It didn't do it for me.
All right. I technically have a 5 and a 6 of ones that I have watched multiple times that I just saw. One of them is in the top 20. It's another anime. It's Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, but there's technically Brotherhood and then the original Full Metal Alchemist. They're the same story, but they were animated at different times, and so there's slight divergences. But I have watched both of those multiple times. Both are great, in my opinion.
Nice.
Let's see here.
I hate to admit this with our last name, but I've never watched a season of True Blood.
Yeah.
I've heard about it, because all you have to do is say your name, and I will say
Are you a vampire?
This.
Have you watched the show?
Everybody learned how to spell our name, so nobody asks that anymore. I mean, and that always cracked me up, because it was a very simple, compound name, and people could not spell it. But nobody asks that anymore, and they'll go, "That's the coolest name," but I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
You won't get
Ones
pushback from me.
This one might surprise you, because I like other shows that are very similar to this. I've never been able to watch The Office.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's not like, there are parts of The Office that I have seen and I think are hilarious. But if I go and try and like start The Office and like watch it, I can't.
It's the pace of it.
I think so.
It's
but
that,
I loved Parks and Rec, and it's the same kind of thing. Parks and Rec was fantastic.
I've never gotten into either of those. Like, I've certainly watched, in fact, Ryan and I sat down here one summer and started trying to binge The Office. I mean, and like, okay, like, if this is your thing, cool. Like, I don't have anything against it. It didn't hold my attention. It wasn't my sense of humor. It didn't speak to me in any way. Are there funny scenes? Absolutely. Are there funny characters that I will absolutely get the references to? Of course. But in general,
I think I really like Nick Offerman, so that helped with Parks and Rec, because he's a big he's a big part of that. I just think he's hysterical. He cracks me up.
I get that. I actually posted on Threads the other day. I was like, am I the only person in the entire world who hasn't watched The Sopranos? And the responses I got were like, oh my God, you have to watch The Sopranos. And I was like, but do I? I don't. Oh, because I was mad because I think it was a deal on Connections. It was like all of the Sopranos characters. And I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. I've never seen that. Again, outside of the mom, I have no idea what it's even about.
It's that thing when you guys talk about Sons of Anarchy or even Yellowstone, there's so many popular references today. Bart Simpson, you see those all of the time. And I feel like, what have I missed? Because I'm not getting all of this. I'm not in there.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about South Park. Like, there are parts of South Park that are hilarious and that I reference, but I could never go sit down and watch all of South Park.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
There's so much of it where it's just like, nah, I'm good.
I feel the same way. And so that was one that we tried to watch here the other day. And this episode was hysterical. And the next episode, I was bored to tears and like tuned out, not interested. Like, give me the highlight episodes, and that's plenty for me, and I can take it from there, but I don't need the rest of it. I also never got into Veep. I tried that with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and it won tons of awards. It was, I mean, what I saw of it, like, it was funny, but it just...
That's why we started watching Hacks, because it was so heavily awarded. But it was that mean factor that I just couldn't do.
You don't have good people to root for.
Yeah, nobody good to root for. And I just don't need to add that to my life.
Yeah.
So you've trudged on with that, and you've said there's some funny things about it, but I gave up at 4th or 5th episode. I just was like, I'm done.
Yeah. And again, I need somebody to root for. And there became a tipping point in Hacks. And I would tell you it's probably partway through season 2 where I had people to root for. I wanted to root for Ava. I wanted to root for Deborah Vance. Like, I wanted to see them succeed, and they started working together and really being positive influences on each other, in each other's lives. And so that became fun. But if I don't have somebody that I can get excited about and get behind, I'm just not interested. That's, again, how I felt about Walter White. Like, I don't give two shits, man.
Tell us how you really feel.
Like, I wanted to like him at first because of the situation that he was in, and then he just gets to the point where he's just kind of a dick.
Yeah, and you're making bad choice after bad choice after bad choice, just digging your own hole.
Yeah.
I don't have sympathy for you, but Mom, you don't want to know how I really feel because Roy Kent is involved.
Okay.
I want to talk about a couple of like buzzworthy series that you might enjoy, are tired of hearing about, loved.
Let's see. I've got some things on my watch list right now. This one looks pretty interesting. This one is called Your Honor. It's the guy who plays Walter White. I can't think of his name. Cranston? Bryan Cranston. Yeah, he plays like a judge who is like normally a really good upstanding judge, and I think he like becomes crooked or something is what it looks like. That one looked really, really interesting.
Yes.
And then there was another one I've got on my list. Taboo with Tom Hardy looked really interesting. I really like Tom Hardy, but every time I try and like start it, I'm just like, I don't know, is this for me? And then I go do something else.
Okay.
But there's another new one, I think, from Paramount that looks really interesting called The Agency. It's about a bunch of CIA operatives. I think that's probably next up for me.
With Richard Gere. He was on, I think it was the Today Show, and I think it's Savannah Guthrie asked him a question and he flips her off. And like, how would your character respond to this? And he flips her off. And she was like, you can't do that. This is national TV. Like, this is real. Like, this is live. And he was like, well, you asked. Like, and that's just how he responds. And he kind of got in trouble for it. And ever since then, that's all I know about the show. Ever since then, I'm like, yes, I feel like I need to watch that. I got to know.
Okay, put that one on our list. I have to say, I don't have a watch list. I have a frustration level of trying to find the one that you do or something new to watch and not having anything that does strike my fancy or not having the right streaming service or so it feels like a lot of work for me.
I do have a question for y'all real quick. One that you might consider adding to your rock list because, Mom, you like The Rock. And I was a little bit iffy about this show when I first started watching it. But I started watching it a couple of years ago because you guys know me, not a football fan. But I started playing fantasy at work a couple of years ago and have kind of gotten sucked into the fantasy football world because I like numbers and I like statistics. And so I tend to be pretty good at it. But there's one with him, Ballers. I loved Ballers. I thought it was fantastic. It's hilarious. And I really thought I wouldn't. And it was really good and I couldn't get enough of it.
It sounds to me, but didn't stay.
It sounds to me, again, because I don't know anything about anything until I actually jump into it. It sounds to me like Entourage meets sports.
I never watched Entourage. That was one that I couldn't really get into, but I think it actually exists like in the same universe.
Okay. Interesting.
Another one that I keep wanting to watch, but I just for some reason can't is Jack Ryan.
I liked Jack Ryan. And that was another one that you said, oh, you won't like that one. And I liked it. Because you are rooting for him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I've never seen that.
It's the one with, what is his name?
Not the one with Cruz, the other one.
No, you're thinking of Jack Reacher.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Yeah. No, Jack Ryan is...
John Krasinski.
John Krasinski, yes.
I like him, though.
But you didn't in The Office.
I normally do, too. And I just, for some reason, haven't been able to get into this one.
Yeah. I never watched that at all. I have been tossing around the idea of starting from the beginning of The West Wing.
I would
And
watch that with you.
I think we
I would
should watch
really
that
like
one
to do
together.
that.
That one's going to be really long. It's going to take us a long time because, I mean, there's how many seasons of West Wing? 10, 15?
I don't even know.
But I would like to go through and watch that one with you guys as well.
I watched it a little bit when it was originally on, when it first, and I liked it.
I will say I am very definitely kind of like behind the times of TV. So just this past year, I watched Friends for the first time.
Really?
I've seen an episode here or there. I knew the characters in the general story, but I had never watched it. So, number one, 2 episodes left for 8 months. I cannot bring myself to watch them because I don't want it to end. It took me a while to get into, but then I just really fell in love with it. And I'm like, oh, this is why people loved this show. This is why it became a cult classic. And I'm just so completely late to the party. And I'm fine with that. But it was great.
Yep. Friends was a good one.
I think I've probably seen most of Friends, but I don't know. I've never actually watched it with any intention.
Yeah. It requires it in order for you to get as much out of it. Because there are good characters and hysterical scenes and lots of funny situations. But until you kind of take it on its whole, it doesn't all come together the same way. You can totally appreciate a single episode, but you don't really find the value until you get it all at once.
I feel like
struggle
the
with
same
sitcoms.
thing with Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
You had to get into it. You had to pay attention to what was going on.
Yeah, I struggle with sitcoms because I want that funny in small doses most of the time. And so it's hard for me to sit down. Most of the TV that I'm going to watch is going to be more drama than comedy. I'll go watch a stand-up special, no problem. And if you've got a sitcom that's 2 or 3 seasons, fine. But once you start getting 5, 8, 10, 12 seasons, that's too much for me. I'm out.
Yeah. The investment is so much greater of your time, of your
one
memory
of the shows
even.
that we both watched, Callie, and really liked that we haven't mentioned was New Amsterdam.
It was on my list too. Yes.
I like that show.
I mean, I feel like medical dramas in general are easy to kind of poo-poo and be like, okay, yeah, Grey's Anatomy, whatever. And I certainly watched my fair share of Grey's Anatomy. I've never seen them all. Kim Raver is my personal favorite character in that because I love her. But New Amsterdam was different.
Yeah.
And New Amsterdam, those characters were so good and so well written, just as being real people struggling and turmoil and excitement and frustration and joy and celebrating each other. New Amsterdam changed the way that I view myself, the way that I put myself out there for everyday life. I loved that show.
Yeah.
But again, it's not because this episode was great or that episode great or this season was great. It's the way that it made you feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's how the
Ted
whole
Lasso
thing
was for
came
me.
together. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. And Ted Lasso has that kind of goofy slapstick humor that is not normally my cup of tea. But exactly that, Cole. Because of the way that it made me feel overwhelmingly, in my heart, I loved it. I loved it, loved it, loved it. Yeah, New Amsterdam is a great one to bring up. I'm trying to think. Okay, like I said, I'm going to do my very best to withhold judgment and not just sit here and make fun of all of us, myself included. And we're just going to put it on the internet and go with it. But guilty pleasure shows. Oh, we're perfect. We don't watch anything stupid.
No, I definitely probably have some goofy animes. Those are probably my guilty pleasure.
Mine would have been Dancing with the Stars, the early seasons.
Nice.
With Bergeron.
Yeah.
Because he was just fun to watch, and it was fun to see people change and go.
Grow, yeah. I get that. Now you guys make me feel like the asshole. So, There are several on Bravo that are my guilty pleasure shows. Not all of them, but Million Dollar Listing New York. I love the New York real estate, any real estate show. And that extends to MTV Cribs. I am in. I want to tour all of the homes. I want to see everybody's setup. I love real estate shows. Summer House is also people in New York who are going out to the Hamptons for the weekend during the summer. Southern Charm is kind of the same thing, but in South Carolina and Charleston. I love that. And not all of them, please be kind to me, but I haven't seen all of them. I like to go in and out, but I loved Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
And I could never figured that one out.
It was one of those shows that it was fun to watch. It was pretty. It was interesting. I loved watching what they were going to come out wearing. It was beautifully shot. And it always made me walk away going, oh, I'm glad I don't have that much drama in my life. Ooh, my life is easy compared to that.
I think what gets me about shows like that is that, like, I can watch a show that is obviously fictional. I really struggle with shows that are fictional that pretend to not be.
What do you mean Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is not real? It even has real in the name.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding, which is why I call it my guilty pleasure show, Cole.
But that's just what I'm just saying, that like I can't get into those.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, like, you watch whatever you want. You're a big girl. I'm not.
And that's the exact reason why I can't get into fantasy. Like, that dog is talking. Come on. I love dogs. I think dogs are the coolest. But no, Family Guy and stupid things like that and the baby and the dog. No, I'm not interested.
That kind of dog talking.
See, to me, those are okay because they're not trying to pretend that it's real.
So the other one that I think is worth mentioning that I was devastated when it ended, and I have no idea. I've never even looked to see if there's a season 2 even coming. But on Apple TV is Lessons in Chemistry with Brie Larson.
That, Callie, and I just did not have the same reaction.
It's a story about love, and it's unconventional love that isn't supposed to work, and neither of them is supposed to fall into it. And the dog talks in a whole episode. And I loved it. I loved it, loved it, loved it. I started like seeking Brie Larson out. I'm like, what else is she in? How can I watch more of her? Because I loved her in that.
Do you do that a lot where you get connected to an actor and you just want to see what else they're doing? Like yes. I feel that way about Dax Shepard's wife.
Kristen Bell.
And yet I didn't like the one she did about heaven, hell.
Good Place.
I didn't like that one. I tried so hard, but I love her. So yeah, I'm going to try whatever it is that she does. I'm going to look at that.
I feel that way about Shamar Moore.
Mm-hmm.
That man is just for
the look and
handsome.
Yeah. I wouldn't care what he said or what he was doing in the show.
Nope. In fact, he was in Criminal Minds, which is heavy.
Yeah.
And I watched several seasons of it because he was in it and I like watching him. I like his personality in it. That was my kind of like NCIS. Like,
yeah,
he was good.
Yeah.
I think I have anybody like that.
Really?
Not on the TV side, at least.
Interesting.
Other guilty pleasures. Again, I don't watch them all of the time. I have definitely been known to fly through a couple of seasons of Love is Blind. I didn't watch the one in Houston, which I think is really weird, but several people were like, it sucked. And so I just never picked it back up. But there were some really good Love is Blind seasons. I also really enjoy, and I know that it is the dorkiest thing in the world, and I should feel like a 13-year-old girl when I'm watching it, and maybe that's why I love it. But The Circle on Netflix is ridiculous, and it gives me somebody to root for. I get excited getting to know them. It's a game show essentially, and they're talking to the TV and trying to pretend that they're somebody else, or maybe they're not. Are they coming in as themselves? And so you can't see each other, and so they're having to eliminate and get to know each other based on just what is on their little social media, social network. And it is goofy, but God, I love a good episode of I love a good season of The Circle. Joey, I still loved your season.
I would say that another one of mine is some of that like adult animation, like Family Guy, Archer. I love me some Archer. It's so goofy and silly, but I think it's hysterical.
I got into King of the Hill, but the reason that I got into King of the Hill, why I really got into the King of the Hill, is because I was like, oh my God, my dad is a cartoon character. He
Dang it, Bobby.
is. Yes. Hank Hill is my father. I'm Ted Lasso, and my dad is Hank Hill. I can't watch that show and not die laughing because I am watching my father being animated.
And that makes me Bobby Hill.
Yes.
I can live with that.
Yes. I feel like it does make you Bobby
That's my
Hill,
purse. I don't know you.
Weird and goofy and hysterical and perfect.
100%.
But Mom, what's the wife's name?
Peggy.
You cannot be Peggy.
No.
Okay.
You're way cooler than Peggy Hill.
Oh,
well,
yay. Hey.
until you start speaking Spanish, and then you kind of sound like Peggy Hill.
You're still way cooler than Peggy Ma. Don't worry about it.
Thanks, boo.
You're way cooler than Peggy Hill in every category except for the Spanish. But the difference is she is very proud of her Spanish skills, and so she just displays them for the whole world to see, and she's awful.
Yeah,
She's
I
awful.
know I'm awful.
Yeah, that's the difference. But
I'm still trying.
You're doing great. You are so far past Peggy Hill
Okay.
that it's not even funny. But that's the one thing, the one kind of similarity between you and Peggy Hill that I've ever seen. I've broken Mom's heart on this episode. So I wanted to also chat about how we think TV influences culture, not only pop culture, but our culture in general, as we have The Apprentice as our president.
I think it's made us meaner.
I would agree. I would totally agree. And I think that it has romanticized lots of heavy, bad, scary outcomes and normalized them, that it's like, oh, it's not a big deal. You just killed everybody off in The Sopranos. Okay. Like that's every day. And I think that you're right. I think it has absolutely desensitized us and made us meaner.
Yeah, a lot of the
I
really
hate
popular stuff these days, like Sons of Anarchy, like Yellowstone, they don't have heroes. They have, I don't necessarily want to call them villains, but let's be honest, Jax Teller was a villain.
Oh, yeah.
He was a bad guy.
He tried not to be for a long time.
He didn't do a very good job, though.
He tried to convince himself that he wasn't. But yes, it was much easier to be a villain.
He didn't start out. His goal was not to become a bad guy, but the decisions that he made turned him into one.
You know,
totally agree.
I think that's really interesting because as I was looking back and looking at the things that I watched as a kid or the shows that were hot back then, they were uplifting. You know, My Three Sons or Family Affair with Brian Keith, who gets his two nieces and a nephew to raise in New York City, and he's doing the best that he can. Or Marcus Welby, MD, was just that father figure that you just liked him so well. Roy Rogers was always a hero, and we've shifted so far from that. So when you asked that question, Callie, I was really wondering, is it the reverse? Are we influencing what we're seeing? Are they writing it because that's what, we're doing
more
in
mimics real life? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You say that, but then, so a couple of shows that I've gone back and watched, some that I watched as a kid, some that I watched growing up, and some that I had never seen. All in the Family.
Yeah.
Oh.
All in the Family was an outlier.
Maybe so, but it was a hugely popular show that I cannot watch a full episode without cringing. In fact, I had watched Man on the Inside with Ted Danson, which is current, and then found out that one of the characters in that was the daughter in All in the Family.
Sally
And so
Struthers.
then, yes, Sally Struthers is in it. And then when I realized it, I had a really hard time watching her and rooting for her because I hated All in the Family.
Oh.
I hated All in the Family.
It
think
was
that's really-
such an outlier.
Really interesting. And I think I've seen that evolution in a little bit shorter time frame occur in a lot of the anime that I have watched. Because when I was growing up, when I was a kid, the animes that I was watching, the Gundams, the Dragon Ball Zs, the Narutos, all of these animes, they have this protagonist, this hero that you want to win because they're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to protect their friends, their families, the people around them. They're trying to do the right thing and be a good person. Sometimes that requires violence, but they're trying to be the best person that they can be. And it is kind of shifted where the anti-hero is much more popular these days because it's someone who is, they might be doing the right thing. They might be doing heroic things, but they're not doing it for the right reason.
Yeah.
And I've definitely seen that shift occur in popularity for sure.
Yeah.
I get that. And I don't even disagree with you. Like, I can totally see that again, because I think that we have romanticized bad guys. We've romanticized villains, and we have become desensitized to the outcomes. And that sucks. And, you know, I have sat here on this podcast talking about, I think we're missing kindness. I think we need to be nicer to each other. I think we need to hug each other more. And to take the opposite viewpoint of that is just a real struggle for me. I mean, but that goes into lots of things. And Mom, you're going to disown me for this one. And I'm sorry, but we started watching the Andy Griffith Show. I've had to get up and walk out of the room. I have no interest in ever watching an episode of that. It is so misogynistic and awful and horrible. I hated it. And I'll sit here and whistle along with you, but I will never watch another episode of the Andrew Griffith Show. It just feels so horrible. And so normal, commonplace for putting women down and not giving them any kind of respect or...
I mean, Aunt B is revered.
Maybe I didn't make it far enough into it, but sitting there in the way that he speaks to his wife and the way that they handle parenting those two boys, like, I hated it.
Oh, wait, you're not talking about the right thing. The Andy Griffith Show was Opie Taylor, and he didn't have a wife.
Oh, you're right. I'm talking about Leave It to Beaver.
Oh.
I'm talking about Leave It to Beaver, and I hated it. Sorry.
Okay.
Nope, you're right. No. Yep. Sorry.
I mean, really, Callie, I was thinking, well, there just went our whole thing. You
Yeah.
don't like Andy Griffith.
Nope, you're
But you
right.
had to
It's
whistle
Leave It to
down.
Beaver.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
Okay, my heart is coming back online.
The
Oh,
other
that's
one
funny.
that I loved growing up as a kid and I cannot watch anymore is the Jetsons.
I never really liked the Jetsons.
Why is that?
I don't know. Like, I didn't think it was that entertaining.
No, I want to know why Callie doesn't like it now.
Because it's just actively so vehemently putting down women. They are stupid, just a part of the puzzle that is in our way, that is spending our money, and I am annoyed by every single thing that they do. Like, what?
Interesting.
And again, and it leads me like full circle to Taylor Sheridan again. These women are like, in general, I believe that women are made up of so much more and have so much more to offer and bring to the world than what you guys are giving them credit for. And I find it gross.
But George Jetson was kind of a doofus.
Asshole.
No, he wasn't an asshole. He was a doofus.
When's the last time you watched an episode of the Jetsons?
50 years ago.
You might want to take another look.
Okay.
Not that I'm recommending it, because I am very definitely not.
I actually am surprised that you can still see the Jetsons.
Yeah, we have it on Apple TV. We had the series, and I am just so completely bummed by it.
With Elroy and what's the dog's name?
Rosie and
Yeah, Rosie. What was the dog's name?
Jane, his wife. What is the dog's name?
Astro?
Yes, Astro.
Probably.
Okay. I'll have to check that one out.
It just,
But
It guts me.
You also have to put that into context.
No, I don't have to put it into context.
I mean,
Sitting here and shitting on women and George Jetson throwing a big, huge fit because and trying to get his wife out of the house so that he can go do some nefarious thing and lie to his boss. So he's just going to give her his credit card because that's all she's good for. No, I don't have to put it in context.
ooh,
That's just being shitty for fun, for
oh,
entertainment. Nope, not interested.
that's an interesting one. Okay.
Not my thing.
Okay.
But okay, so I pulled up a quiz for you guys of some of the most iconic television quotes of all time.
Oh, good.
So I'm going to read you the quote, and I'm just going to read them regular. I'm not going to act them out for the record because I am
That's
not
going
an
to make
actress.
it way harder.
Yeah. So you're just going to have to be on your toes. But we'll see how you guys do. How you doing?
Friends.
The Fonzie. The Fonz.
No,
No.
How you doing? I guess that is Joey too, but
that's Joey.
It's
I thought that
Joey.
was-
That's an iconic. Fonz's was.
A, which I think is on my list.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I can't act them out. I suck at this, but doy. I think it's how you
Doe?
say it. Doe? Is that how you say
Homer
it?
Simpson?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Homer
Doe.
Simpson.
Oh.
Dope.
Oh, yes. We weren't allowed to watch those as kids, and I never went back to it. Marsha.
It's a Brady Bunch.
Yes. Oh my God, they killed Kenny.
South Park.
Yes.
You killed Kenny, you bastards.
Okay, is this like a class that they pull men aside in high school and say, "Hey, we want to teach you how to make the
Cartman
South Park
voice?
voices"? Yes,
No, it's
because
just
every man I
everybody
know
does
can
it.
just pull it out. It's hysterical.
That's funny.
Okay,
And wasn't-
next one.
But wait, wasn't the voice a woman? Wasn't the woman who
On
did all
Cartman?
of the voices for South Park,
I don't think so.
or was that Bart? No, that was Bart Simpson.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sorry.
yes. And then the woman who did it, I believe, was in something else, and I was like, "Oh God, I cannot unsee her." Californication, I think, is what it was.
Yeah. Also, I forgot about Californication. Fantastic show. I loved that.
Okay, treat yourself.
That one is Parks and Rec. I say treat yourself all the time.
Yes, live from New York at Saturday night.
Saturday Night
SNL.
Live.
Yeah.
Which, let me just say, I was not allowed to watch.
I don't know that we were allowed to watch SNL either. I don't know that we ever wanted to when we were little,
Yeah.
but I don't ever remember watching it.
Yeah. I mean, even today, it's not something that I watch. Like every now and then
Yeah.
I'll go and look up a skit, or there are a couple of really memorable ones in my mind, but
Yeah.
not something I go to. Survey says,
Play Feud.
yes, Ruh-roh,
Scooby-Doo.
The
Ruh-roh
dog on
Raggy.
Jetson.
Scooby-Doo.
No, oh no, Scooby. You're right. Sorry.
That's okay. I got Andy Griffith wrong earlier. It's fine.
Yeah.
There's your mulligan for this episode.
Thanks.
Vita Vita Vidya Vegemin.
Lucy.
And finally, winter is coming.
Game of Thrones.
Yes, so that's my list for us of some of the most popular TV lines of all time. We did pretty good, y'all.
I think we only
Not
missed
bad.
two.
Yeah. So, okay. So, transitioning really quick into still TV, but not exactly TV. I would like to chat about streaming services. You know, we've talked about streaming service wars and what's on what streaming service and all of these things. And I said something to Cole about it earlier this week, and he's like, you know, I think that the streaming services wars are kind of over. That's not really a thing anymore. Which, in a lot of ways, I think is very accurate and true. But here's my beef at this point. We all cut the cord to get off of cable TV, to get out of humongous bills every month, to go opt ourselves into 26 monthly subscription services. I would be very curious to know how many of us are paying more now than when we did have satellite TV, cable TV, just because they're everywhere. And raise your hand if you only have one. Which one do you have?
Hulu.
You also have Amazon Prime.
Oh, crap. Yeah.
Yeah, but she doesn't pay for the ad-free version, and she has Amazon Prime not intended as a streaming service, but to buy things on Amazon. So I don't know. I think that one may only count as half.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Boo.
You also watch things on Max and on Apple TV.
Just when y'all are around. I don't have that, and I'm not paying for it.
Ted Lasso is on Apple TV, and you watched that long before I was around.
Because I got Apple TV a subscription with something that I bought.
Your iPad.
It was my iPad, yeah. And so I had it for a period of time because it was a free deal, not because I paid for it. I'm still winning here.
So the lesson of this episode is we all need to be more like Mom and take advantage of trial periods and then cut the cord.
Yeah.
Are we ready for weird thoughts?
Yeah, do it.
Okay, so I had this as I was kind of sitting down here because I would say I probably watch more YouTube than I watch TV. I think parts of YouTube should count as TV.
Such as?
Explain.
I don't know, like there are streamers that stream all of the time and they will come out with 30-minute to hour-long to 2-hour-long episodes once or twice a day sometimes. And like I will sit down and watch that like a TV show. And they're usually covering some other topic. They're talking about something. But like, should those like episodic YouTube channels, should that count as TV? Or is that something different?
I think you're right. I think it should count as TV. And the only experience I have with this, other than like various workout videos, which Mom and I are notorious for logging on and watching different people who are putting out workout videos. But the only other experience I have is this guy, I can't remember where he is. He started out as Ants Canada, and then he moved, I think, to Thailand. But he puts on this whole thing about making a terrarium. A vivarium, I think is what it actually is. And so building it and then putting different animals and creatures and critters in it and all of this. And then there's ants and there's spiders and there's grasshoppers and there's crickets and there's worms and the entire ecosystem that he has built inside of his home at one point it gets left open. Yes. Again, I think it's a vivarium officially because it also has water and fish and frogs and it's the entire thing other than like humans and dogs. But his dog does leave the door open at one point and a snake gets out, or I think it was a spider that got out.
How big are these things?
Huge. The size of this room. Huge.
You're correct, Gig. A terrarium would be a glass container specifically for growing plants, while a vivarium is a glass-fronted case for keeping small animals like reptiles and amphibians.
So, but it also has all of the water that he doesn't go in and treat or anything. Like he has the entire ecosystem. So there's plants in there and he injects water, I think like in terms of rain, in the form of rain. But besides that, it is all on its own. And so it's really cool because you're sitting there and he's like, here come the marcher ants and here come the soldier ants and they're going to get mad at the so-and-so ants. I've learned more about ants watching this series. And Ryan and I sat down and binged it for like 4 days one time. And we were trying to get other people to watch it. And we're like, have you watched it yet? And they were like, no. And we're like, what do you mean you haven't watched it yet? We were obsessed. But yes, Cole, I think it counts as TV.
So
it looks like
what
that's
about
the name of it.
What about like if someone comes out with episodic podcasts? Like if someone watches us every Friday on YouTube when our videos come out, does that count as TV? Or because it's a podcast, it's different?
I don't know.
That's a weird thought.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, would you consider the Joe Rogan podcast? Because you can go watch it on YouTube. Would that be considered a TV show? Or is it not structured enough to be a TV show? Because it varies in length. Some episodes are an hour, some are 5 hours.
I think it's not TV.
Oh.
I think it has too much variance.
But if you watched the Serial podcast, I mean, that would be a show that would be on. I don't know that there's a visual portion of that, but if there was, like, that would be a PBS show, no problem. An NPR show, no problem. I don't know, Cole.
I don't know.
I think that that's a really interesting question. But that said, if anybody's listening, all of our episodes are on YouTube, and you can watch us in every single episode. And you get all of the hand gestures and Mom shaking her head at us over and over and over again because she is completely confused or frustrated with us. And so you wouldn't miss anything if you watch our episodes on YouTube.
Shameless plug.
Cole's
Check it
making
out.
more hand gestures. Yeah, I don't know. I think that is a weird thought, and I have no idea. I mean, I think that is kind of goes to show how much our culture has changed and shifted and evolved, and how much technology has so heavily played into all of that, that we probably need to sit down and redefine some words as to what is current and relevant in today's day and age.
So anything you can binge?
I mean, you can binge a podcast.
Sure.
Content from independent creators. I mean, but I guess that's not always the case either. I don't know. I have no idea. Media.
Yeah, I mean, entertainment. It's all going to be under the entertainment category, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
and I guess it kind of depends on the lens that you're looking through it. Like Two Millennials and Mom is not a TV show because it doesn't come through a broadcaster, but you could watch it on your TV on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe it's in the eye of the beholder on that one, and it's just kind of a weird thought, a weird thing to think about.
I like it. I like it. But if you happen to be watching Two Millennials and Mom on YouTube or on whatever podcast app, please write us a review, leave us a rating. We would appreciate it.
We would.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Also, I want to hear everybody's favorite and least favorite TV shows. Do you also hate not Andy Griffith, but
The Jetsons?
No.
Leave It to Beaver.
Leave It to Beaver, like me? Or did you love it? Are you absolutely wild about True Blood, much more so than us? What should we be watching? What should we give a chance? And if we have to give it a full season, we're not watching it.
Yeah. Throw in
Why
your
not?
most obscure TV shows that we've never heard of, and we might check them out.
Yes. Yes. It would be fun. Okay. I think that that's kind of it. I mean, other than our good news story that we kind of talked about earlier, season 4 of Ted Lasso, we're all super pumped about. Woohoo! The resurgence of Netflix that happened this past week, that everybody was completely convinced that as a platform that was dying, and it really, really took off this week, was pretty cool. I certainly think that while there is probably a consolidation coming and down the line, and we can talk about that all of these streaming services and all of us paying $56 million a month for them to be subscribed, they are owned by just a handful of companies, and we'll get into that here soon. But in the meantime,
continued.
Yeah. In
I
the
did
meantime,
send y'all
they're
a
there.
good news story this morning that I really liked. So you want to end with it?
Yeah, what you
Yeah.
got?
Hit it.
So this came from CBS News. Danny Chauvin of Mississippi is a vet with PTSD, and he also lost his wife, and he decided that he needed something to do. So he put an ad on Facebook and said, if you need help, I can help. And so maybe he gets a call to come and repair a screen door, or to fix a fence, or to repair something around the house.
Garbage disposal. A handyman.
Garbage disposal. And it has revived him and made him super popular, and he charges nothing for doing it. So you just contact him on Facebook and say, hey, can you come fix my...
Whatever.
And just to make the story a little bit sweeter, he met his wife doing an odd job for her, his new wife, and they got married just recently.
He came to fix her dryer. They fell in love.
And they fell in love and got married. So
That's way better
That's a
than
sweet
Netflix
story.
resurgence.
I agree.
Thanks
So,
for that one, Mom.
I liked it.
Yes. I agree. Well, like I said, find us on YouTube, your favorite platform. Leave us a rating or review. Let us know what we should be watching and what you absolutely hated. And if you also hate Leave It to Beaver like me. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, you guys. Love you.
Love you guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.